This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting, brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Gavin Gaddis, in for Tom Webster. Here's what you need to know for today, Thursday, March 21st. First up, Libsyn rebrands AdvertiseCast to Libsyn Ads. As of today, Libsyn is beginning a rebrand of the AdvertiseCast marketplace into Libsyn Ads. The new brand will make its debut at Podcast Movement Evolutions in Los Angeles next week. Libsyn's Vice President of Marketing, Rich Romano, says the new Libsyn Ads brand simplifies interactions with customers and prospects alike. Libsyn will be on the Podcast Movement Evolutions Expo floor at booth number 15, March 26th through 29th. And for those attending, don't forget to swing by the Sounds Profitable Partner Lounge just across from the Paramount Coffee Bar. Up next, Owning Podcasting's Responsibility from Bryan Barletta. Podcasting's intimacy can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, audiences having a direct connection with a creator lends to stronger engagement. On the other hand, that parasocial engagement also means creators are more likely to hear complaints as things change or as interest in podcast advertising grows. While ads are easy to skip, there's more of a personal impact when a beloved program broadcasts a bad ad. This issue isn't unique to podcasting, and other forms of advertising can get away with murder when it comes to poorly implemented ads, but podcasting doesn't get that luxury. It's the responsibility of every publisher to own each ad placement, be it baked in or dynamically inserted. The call is coming from inside the house, and the onus is on podcasting to refine our tools and minimize bad ad placements. Transparency and ownership are keys to the growth of podcasting. Speaking of growth, up next, survey. More Finns are willing to pay for podcasts to listen at home and even in the sauna. Podcast and audiobook company Podimo has debuted their annual survey of Finnish podcast behavior. The 2024 survey, commissioned from Norstat, interviewed 1,025 Finns aged 15 to 64 who listen to podcasts at least once a month. According to the findings, 62% of Finns who listen to podcasts are willing to pay for them if it meant the creator would be paid for their work or if the price was affordable enough. This stat is up 13% from last year's 49%. They're also active and loyal listeners by large, with 72% of respondents listening at least weekly and 37% listening at least once a week. 26% of respondents say they always listen to every episode of their favorite podcasts. And finally, why brands should prepare for the rise of superfans. While fandom and people showing enthusiasm for their favorite media and pop culture is no new development, data from Deloitte shows younger generations are more likely than older ones to say their favorite movie franchises, musicians, and video games are important aspects of their self-image. Musicians trend highest, with 19% of baby boomers agreeing, compared to Gen Z's 58%. How can podcasting harness this public and self-image shift? Look no further than brand fans, as Tom Webster covered back in October. 41% of respondents to the podcast landscape, which, while that is a smaller number than 100%, still represents 106 million Americans aged 18 plus, would likely listen to a podcast about a favorite brand. Podcast listeners are only slightly more likely to listen to a podcast starring a favorite celebrity than they are about their favorite brands. There's untapped potential, especially with brands known for having die-hard fans. As for the rest of the news, the New York Times audio premium subscription app has broken 1 million downloads, and Magellan AI's February advertiser data shows 12 of the top 15 advertisers are repeats from January, and sports was by far the top genre, likely due to the Super Bowl. And we've got a research data snapshot for you. This one comes from Bloomberg, with Spotify now sharing podcasts' follower count. The chart covers the top 15, top 5 of which would be the Joe Rogan Experience with 14.5 million followers, TED Talks Daily with 5 million, Call Her Daddy at 3.7, Crime Junkie at 3.3, and Stuff You Should Know at 3.2. So what is it? It's a Bloomberg collected graph of follower counts for the top 15 most followed podcasts on Spotify, which shows that the Joe Rogan Experience remains firmly in the lead with almost a 10 million follower lead on TED Talks Daily. Meanwhile, places 2 through 10 in that are a tight pack with only a few 100,000 followers difference. And why is it cool? Well, for the first time, a podcast app, specifically Spotify, is now showing the number of followers per show, including Sounds Profitable. Feel free to go check that one. Ashley Carmen of Bloomberg compiled this chart of top podcasts, and you can read more about it with a link in the description. Be sure to check out all the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Bryan Barletta, myself, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us tomorrow.